Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. I'm Deziel and today I'm going to show you how to make the pattern for this little belly. Let's start right now with the measurement that I got from the description of the silicone belly. So the width was 35 centimeter. The height this way was 26 centimeter and the depth or the thickness was 7 centimeter. Now to start the pattern, I'm going to do a first construction line with the width of my belly, so 35 centimeter. I will mark the middle point and then square a line for the height, and I'm going to put it half, so 13 on each side of my line for a total of 26. Then to make my pattern more accurate, I'm going to fold in the middle and fold again. Then you're going to square a line on both fold sides and you're going to trace a little square on the side where you have no fold. This square is only 2 by 2. The measurement that you need from corner to corner is 5.4 centimeter. And this is only to give you your reference to be able to trace the curve of the belly. So make sure you keep a 90 degree at the beginning and at the end. Now we could add the seam allowance and cut. Also, you might want to trace the seam line. Now that the bottom piece is done, we need to find out the measurement of the 3D that we need in both directions. So what I did, I simply used a bowl that I had that is about 7 centimeter high. I place it over in the middle and I measure from my seam line going over the bowl until the other side. From the start I had 35 centimeter. Now I do need 38.5 centimeter. That means that my top part should be 3.5 centimeter bigger. Now in the other direction I do the same thing again. Now I found 30 centimeter. My basic was 26. I need 30. That means my top piece should get longer by 4 cm. Now to do the development for the top part, I'm going to fold back my plan or my pattern piece and work on 1/4. I'm going to trace it on another piece of paper and cut it all around. Now if you look at my belly, I have a middle piece. That means one cut over here and I have 2 more cut so I could distribute the 4 centimeter extra that I need. Now for my plan, I'm just going to indicate that I have 2 folds of paper here and I'm going to trace my 3 horizontal lines. The first one I did at 2.5 centimeter and the 2 other one at 3.5. Now I'm already going to put my number on my piece, so number 1, and we're going to start to add the 4 centimeter. But since it's half the pattern, I'm going to need 2 centimeter distribute in 3 seams. Like I said, the measurement have to go smaller towards the edge of the pattern. So for this example, I'm going to add 5 millimeter on each side of the first line. I'm going to put 3 millimeter on each side of the second one and 2 millimeter on each side of the last one for a total of 2 centimeter. Now to trace this enlargement on each piece, I'm going to go parallel to that style line and I'm going to put my 5 millimeter on one side, trace parallel for about 1/3 and then go with a little curve until about the last third. Same thing on the other side. I will do the same thing again with the 3 millimeter and then again with the 2 millimeter. Now for the plan, we just have to put notches for assembling and try to make it different amount and different positions. So let's say over here, double one and a single one. Now it's time to retrace our 4 pieces, and I'm going to start with piece number 1 with a fold paper, and place your plan right on before tracing all around. So I hope you noticed that I'm doing piece number 1, so I went all the way to that line for my extension of 0.5, and now I'm just going to trace the top and the bottom. So on my plan I did put all the vertical measurement. Now on those stripes that we'll do, we need to add the horizontal measurement. So we need 3.5 on a half pattern that we're working on. I'm going to add 1.75, and you're going to trace it right on top of the top of your pattern. Now you just need to add your seam allowance on the style line, and this time I'm going to ask you to do a smaller seam allowance of 0.7. Now we just have to cut and notch, but before you're going to fold your pattern again, because we want to do a complete pattern for the middle piece. This is the first pattern piece, and you could already see that we have the excess on the height, and we did it also on the width. The only thing you're missing to be able to place it right onto your main piece is going to be a middle notch. And in the same time, I'm going to also do the notch on this middle piece, so both sides on the construction line. Now we're ready to trace the 3 other pieces. Remember to do the extension on both sides for the piece number 2, on both sides for piece number 3, and it's going to be on one side only for piece number 4. And each time you're going to trace the top and the bottom. Now we're going to start doing little development for the piece number 2. If you remember, we did have 1.75 for the top piece because it's the middle one and that's where you need the most. But it needs to go smaller for the piece all the way to nothing at the bottom. So how we're going to do it? We're going to start by adding the same 1.75 on my piece number 2. And we're going to put the seam allowance of 0.7 both sides. Now we're going to cut all around. Now here's how we're going to make the bottom part go smaller. We're going to trace 3 lines side to side, and we're going to slash the bottom to be able to overlap a little bit. Now to be able to overlap and keep your pattern flat, you might want to do a little slash on the seam allowance at the other end of your line. Now for this first piece, you're going to close or overlap about 3 millimeters on each line. Now you see that we did close the line, but it's still very soft because we distribute it in 3 different areas. Now we're ready for piece number 3. You're already going to put your seam allowance on both sides. And before cutting, we're going to find out how much this one needs to be enlarged by flipping your pattern piece number 2 and put it next to the piece number 3, matching the seam line, not the end of the pattern. And in the same time, you're going to trace the little corner so you could cut it with the right angle. Now you're going to pivot your piece and trace just a little bit to find out how much excess do we need on the piece number 3. As you could see, the amount to add is much smaller than that one because we want to go to nothing at the bottom. Now that you have your measurement, just trace it parallel to the top. Then you could cut all around your piece number 3 and do your notch. Now just like we did on the piece number 2, we're going to trace maybe 2 lines this time to do the closure. And you cut and snip and do your little overlap, maybe 2 millimeters or so. Now we have one last piece to do. You're going to first put your seam allowance on the style line and then take your pattern number 3, flip it, make sure to match the seam line. Then you could trace your corner, pivot your piece, then indicate the end of the piece to find out how much left you have to close. Then trace the line parallel to the top. Now we'll do one single closure, so you trace your line, cut all around your piece, then do your cut, snip the other side, and make your last closure or overlap exactly the size of the adding that you just did. Now the top pattern is finished. The only thing we have left to do is put the information for the dart for the inside panel that we want to curve the other way around. Now to create the dart, I'm going to do the first one right in the middle. I'm going to mark on the horizontal line, but from the middle line, I'm going to mark 1 cm on each side and just connect with the seam line at the bottom and at the top. Now to have the indication on the fabric, you're going to need a little punch hole, 3 millimeters inside on each side of the dart. The other 2 darts are going to be on each side at about 5 centimeters from the first one. And these one, we're going to do them a little less deep, so I'm going to make it 0.7 on each side. I'm going to trace them the same way and put my punch hole 3 millimeters inside. To place the reference on the other side of the pattern, just fold it in the middle and trace your reference with your tracing wheel. Also, since we do have the notch as the middle reference for the middle dart, we're going to place the same reference top and bottom for the side dart. Now your pattern is complete. This main piece is going to have the grain line vertical and it's going to be cut 1 time. The middle part, we have the complete pattern. You could put the grain line this way also and it's cut 1 time. My piece number 2 needs to be cut on fold 2 times. Number 3, same thing. And number 4, same thing again. So your belly pattern is complete and you just did a very good exercise of a 3D. That's it for today. I hope the video will be helpful. Thanks for watching and I see you next time.